One of the most powerful jobs in Central Florida, a nearly $9 billion budget, and big questions to answer for the next Orange County mayor.
Where we need a new vision. We need to do something different, and we need to think big.
I'm running to create a county that has affordability, livability, and opportunity for everybody in it.
Tonight, 4 candidates square off to give those answers about their plans for our future.
I've seen so much growth, but I think there's opportunities for us to do more here in the community.
It's time we have that balance of people and prosperity and opportunities, and also growth.
From rapid growth to changing how we spend billions in tourism money to potentially losing a massive chunk of their budget if a property tax cut passes. The future of Orange County is about to be decided. The Channel 9 Orange County mayoral debate starts right now.
And good evening. Thank you so much for joining us for what we hope will help you make your decision for the next Orange County mayor. I'm Martha Sagowski.
And I'm Greg Wormuth. Again, so glad you're here. Hopefully you'll enjoy this next hour. Channel 9 partnered with the Orlando Economic Partnership to bring you this debate, and we have a lot to get to. This is a live debate, unedited. We're going to get right to it. Tonight, these 4 candidates will have a chance to make their case and explain their plans for the future of Orange County.
All right, let's kick things off and let's meet our candidates. They are in alphabetical order. Chris Messina is a tech entrepreneur from Winter Park. He ran for mayor back in 2022. He finished second. He is a Harvard grad. He says he's not a career politician, but he is a businessman. Stephanie Murphy is a businesswoman and former U.S. Congresswoman who represented part of Orange County for 6 years. Tiffany Moore Russell is the Orange County Clerk of Courts. Before that, she was a county commissioner, the youngest, in fact, to ever be elected. And Mayoral Uribe is a businesswoman, a community leader, and the Orange County Commissioner for District 3, who has represented the center of the county since 2018.
All right, before we get started, a look at the rules for tonight's debate here on Channel 9. This will be a full hour with 1 2-minute break. Candidates will have 90 seconds to answer each question. Now, they may get 45 seconds for a rebuttal, but only if Martha and I feel one is actually necessary. We will rotate who answers first. The order was decided by a random drawing. Former U.S. Congresswoman Stephanie Murphy will go first, and we start with opening statement. Stephanie.
Good evening, and thank you to WFTV for hosting this debate. I'm Stephanie Murphy, and I'm running because I believe Orange County can be the best place in America to live, work, and raise a family. But right now, Orange County residents are suffering from rising costs, too much congestion, and their young people are wondering whether or not they can find opportunity here in Central Florida. And I can understand that. I grew up in a family where my parents worked multiple jobs to ensure that I had opportunities they didn't. And so I believe that leadership is about creating opportunity for others. And I believe public service is about getting results. And that has framed my career in the business world, at the Department of Defense after 9/11, and in Congress, where I built a reputation for bringing people together and delivering results for this community. I'm running for Orange County Mayor today because we need leadership that is proven, that has executive experience, and that has legislative experience to be able to deliver on the future that I know is possible for us. As mayor, I will be laser-like focused on ensuring that we have housing that people can afford, that we have less congestion so that people can spend more time with their families. And I look forward to earning your vote.
Stephanie, thank you so much. Up next is the Clerk of Courts and former Orange County Commissioner, Tiffany Moore Russell. Tiffany.
Thank you. And first, allow me to thank Orlando Economic Partnership as well as Channel 9 for hosting this debate. And to our listening audience and those who are watching tonight, thank you for joining us. I am Tiffany Moore Russell, and I'm running for mayor because Orange County deserves a leader who can deliver proven results. As a longtime native of this community, I grew up in Tangelo Park. I'm a licensed attorney raising my 2 boys with my husband, who's a high school principal. As a former county commissioner, I was successful in securing funding for infrastructure projects in communities such as Little Egypt, as well as successful in bringing the first ever cricket field here in Orange County. But as your Orange County Clerk of Court, I currently lead a very complex budget, over 400 employees, but I've been able to be innovative in coming to transform my office, as well as making sure that I can increase wages. When I started at the clerk's office, clerks started at $12 an hour, and today we're at $17 an hour. And that's important because we need a mayor who has proven to deliver results locally, someone who has legislative and executive experience, who understands the county budget process. I have walked across this county talking to voters, and I understand your issues. It's housing, it's transportation, and a need to make sure that jobs are giving wages that match affordable and be able to live in this community. And so that's why I'm running for my 17-year and 15-year-old to create a county that everyone can thrive. I am Tiffany Moore Russell, and I hope I earn your vote tonight.
All right, Tiffany, thank you very much. Next up, Orange County Commissioner Myra Uribe.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you to OEP and Channel 9 for hosting us. My name is Myra Uribe, and I'm running to be the next mayor of Orange County. As a daughter of immigrants whose parents chose to build their lives in Orange County, my husband Kevin and I are raising our daughter Faith and our son Lincoln in this community, where we have had a construction company for over 20 years. I'm running because I want to see better transportation that benefits everybody, affordable housing, protecting our environment, and actually creating jobs where our young people will have an opportunity for career and success in the future. I've worked at the federal level, serving 8 years with U.S. Senator Bill Nelson, also at the state and local level, where I've had the honor to represent District 3 for 8 years, a voice in the community, a voice that's out there serving our community with community feedbacks, backpacks, community cleanups, mentoring students, and health fairs. But I've also chaired all 67 counties of Florida in transportation, confirmed by the governor on the 2055 Florida Transportation Committee. I know that this community has so much more ahead of it because it's about time we put the people who live in this community first. I'm running, and I hope tonight I earn your vote because I deeply believe that Orange County is the best place to live, to work, to raise a family, and our better days are ahead of us. Thank you.
Myra, thank you. And finally, businessman and 2022 mayoral candidate who was the runner-up, Chris Messina.
Good evening, Orange County. I'm Chris Messina, and I'm running to be your Orange County mayor. First, some background. I'm a Christian and a husband, married to my amazing wife for 25 years. Our 3 children are all in Florida schools. Most recently, I was a volunteer high school football coach here and vice chair of Orange County Watch. I'm a businessman, not a politician. I have an MBA from Harvard and a master's in city planning. My career has been in building technology businesses, foundations, and trade associations, generating thousands of jobs. We need a new vision for Orange County, not another recycled politician. Our #1 goal is to diversify our economy, particularly into space tech and high tech, so we can bring in more jobs. We have an initiative to bring the first military academy in the South, the Space Force Academy, right here to Orange County. #2, we're going to keep our kids safe and give them hope for the future. We have another initiative called Orange County Works, which is to provide a skilled trades education for everybody who wants one from junior year in high school on. #3, we're going to eliminate waste in county government so that we can invest in transportation, affordable housing, without raising taxes, and indeed while accommodating a potential property tax cut. We'll have a forensic audit team ready to go on day 1. You can learn more and support me at chrismessina.com. As the only conservative in this race, I humbly ask for your vote now till August 18th. Thank you.
All right, Chris, thank you, and thank you to all 4 of our candidates. Now for our questions. The first round deals with housing affordability. We ask our viewers here at Channel 9 to send in their questions, and thousands, literally thousands of people responded. Affordable housing seemed to be the biggest issue on most people's minds. Things have been called a crisis by experts here in terms of our housing. The average hospitality worker makes $40,000 a year. Fair market rent for a 2-bedroom is nearly $2,000 a month. That works out to 59% of their income. So we're looking at what each of these candidates would do to fix this.
All right, Chris Messina, the first question
Sure.
goes to you. Your platform, you promised to use creativity to provide safe and affordable housing,
Yep.
while your broader platform emphasizes smaller government, lower taxes, less bureaucracy. Affordable housing projects frequently depend on public subsidies, county land, or fee reductions. So what specifically would you spend or give up in county revenue to make housing cheaper? And if your answer is nothing, how does your plan actually produce affordable housing?
So the number one thing when we're talking about affordability is a function of your job. If you have a good job, lots of things are affordable. If you have a job that's at the bottom of the income level, and Greater Orlando is 49th out of 50 major metro areas in terms of median individual income, and it's been that way for a decade. If you don't have a great job, lots of things are unaffordable. So the first thing we need to do is to bring in great jobs. That's the number one thing we can do to address the affordability issue. Number two, we need to reduce the cost of government. The cost of government on people who are want to start out or have a home or have to pay a very high tax rate on their homes. And that's why I'm very much in support of the ballot initiative for property tax reform, because I believe that will reduce the costs that our citizens have to bear. Now, having said that, we also need places where we can build affordable housing. And one of our major initiatives is to redevelop all the blighted strip malls up and down Orange Avenue, OBT, Colonial, and turn them into mixed-use, multi-income housing, retail, and commercial centers. And we have a lot of property we can do that. We need to be proactive with our developers, not reactive, and then we can have a really vibrant community along these corridors.
All right, thank you, Chris. We appreciate that answer. Again, everyone has that time limit, and you all have done a wonderful job so far. Next up, Stephanie Murphy. My question for you, Stephanie, you say Orange County needs substantially more housing and that you'd streamline permitting and remove barriers to construction, but you also say you'll protect existing neighborhood character. When those two goals collide, which wins?
Well, let me first say that I believe that if you have a job in this county, you should be able to afford to live in this county. And how we reduce the cost that permitting is adding to bringing housing units to the market, there are a number of things that we can do. We can create a cross-functional team that handles housing permitting from application all the way to certificate of occupancy, taking the approach of seeing housing more as an economic development project than just a pure permitting project. We can provide transparency into the process and set a clock for when an applicant might see their proposal accepted or denied. And we can create partnerships with large employers and who also have a vested interest in ensuring that there is workforce housing. And we can do all of that with codes and that ensure that we retain the character of communities. There are a lot of places in this community where we are ripe for infill development, and it lays along existing transportation corridors as well as existing utilities. And at a time when infrastructure costs so much, this is actually the most cost-effective way for us to deliver units to this community. Because at the end of the day, if you can have a job in this community, you should be able to afford to have a home in this community.
All right, thank you, Stephanie.
Tiffany, you have argued that communities that have historically been neglected shouldn't be excluded from affordable housing investment, but critics say continuing to concentrate subsidized housing in the same areas can reinforce economic segregation. Where specifically should Orange County, if you're the mayor, put the next major affordable housing developments? And are there communities where you believe that the county has already built enough?
So first, I think when I speak about making sure we have investment in our inner communities, it's all investment, not just affordable housing investment, but it's also market rate investment, making sure we can have diversity when it comes to the housing economic status for all residents, so we can make sure that everyone thrives. But specifically, I want to make sure we're building affordable housing where the jobs are, closer to our transportation corridors, making sure that we can provide housing closer to where the bus rapids are, where Sunrail is, where the major job opportunities are, to create that greater supply and create connectivity for those who live in this community. I think that is where we should be placing that affordable housing projects. That it should make sense. The data should drive where we place those opportunities, where the people are, where the driving distance is, where the public transportation is, to make sure it's economical for all. And so I would spread that out. It should not be located just in one particular community. We have great communities across this county. We have Holden Heights, we have Azalea Park, we have South Apopka. We should diversify and make sure we're spreading out those opportunities to everyone in this county.
Excellent. Follow up to that, because you didn't use all your time. Would you support allowing qualified local builders to purchase county-owned lots so that they can also help with this?
I would, as long as they meet the provisions that we say are important to us, right? So we want to make sure, one, that they're creating economic opportunities for small businesses, that they're offering jobs that's going to provide a living wage, that they're going to support making sure we have housing for those who live in that community. I think you asked the question about even where do we place, we need to make sure we don't displace those residents in certain communities. And so I'm supportive, but they want to make sure they also meet the mission that we have when it comes to the county.
All right, thank you for that follow-up there. I want to make sure you got your full amount of time. It's almost perfect that we go to you next, Myra, because you two have very different opinions. It appears, at least in my research. Commissioner Uribe, you've said Orange County needs to stop concentrating affordable housing in disadvantaged areas and spread it throughout the county. You've also been part of a county government spending millions to subsidize affordable projects. Name the areas of Orange County that should now accept significantly more affordable housing, and would you support one there even if nearby homeowners strongly oppose it?
Well, Greg, this is such a great question because it's a balance. See, I'm born and raised in Pine Castle. I'm a graduate of Oak Ridge High School, but here's the difference. I still live in Pine Castle. Pine Castle is off of Orange Blossom Trail and Oak Ridge Road. It is an area that my parents bought a house in 1972, and it has significantly changed from then to now. And what is continued to be built are projects along Americana, Texas, Rio Grande, OBT, in the same concentrated areas. We need to diversify because we're feeding generational poverty. This is the reality of what we're dealing with. What we do need to do is we need to spread that opportunity for people to have quality lives, where they say surround yourself by what you want to see and have. Quality schools, ability to jobs, a grocery store. These are food desert areas. Everyone deserves that quality of life. When the Walmart's your main food carrier, that is not a grocery store. So yes, but we don't have an inventory problem. We have an affordability crisis when it comes to housing. When 1/3 of our population works in tourism, making $40,000 a year, it's very hard to afford an $1,800 apartment. What I want to see is our ship and sale program, which we can put into effect now, where we can actually subsidize apartments that are already existing, inventory that is out there. But more importantly, when developers come, let's make that negotiation happen from day one. From day one, 10% of your units that can be affordable. We can make it happen.
All right, thank you.
All right, next topic. We're all, it seems it's on the news every single day. The big question that we've received from our viewers is about property taxes. The amendment on the ballot in November would substantially increase the homestead amendment, saving homeowners thousands of dollars. But Orange County officials estimate losing $430 million over just the first 2 years. This affects really everything from law enforcement, fire service to the general fund. And just today, a judge ruled the wording of the amendment was misleading and now needs to be rewritten. First, a show of hands from the four of you. Who is going to be voting yes on Amendment 3?
Oh, yes.
You're voting
yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Okay. Stephanie, the question for you. With a budget of more than almost, we're pushing $9 billion for Orange County, efficiency is something virtually every candidate promises. What is one significant area of county spending you believe, personally, is too large right now, and how much could you realistically cut from it?
Well, let's talk about how much the county budget has grown over the last few years. In the last 5 years, it's grown by $4 billion, nearly doubling what it is. As you said, pushing $9 billion. What we're looking at is savings of less than 5% if the math works out for what we anticipate that tax will be. I'm convinced that we can find efficiencies because we grew so fast despite the fact that our population only grew by 5% in that time. And so there should be efficiencies. I think a great place to start is to look at the budget reduction exercise that the county departments were required to do by state law that asked them to look for 10% in each one of their departments to see where they could cut. And I bet that if you look off of what they came back with, we would be able to find the resources to ensure that we don't affect services given this property tax.
Would you raise fees, though? Reduce services or do neither? If these efficiencies aren't enough.
I think you have to establish trust with the taxpayer before you even begin to talk about fees. And so there is a level of accountability that has to happen with the tremendous growth that has happened, and yet still there's never enough money for schools, roads, or houses. So there needs to be a level of accountability, and then we can talk about what areas need to be cut. But we have to get the trust that we're using taxpayer dollars well today before we even talk about raising fees.
Thank you for that, Stephanie. Next up is Tiffany Moore Russell. And we've seen in the news, and Martha, we reported on it even yet tonight, that there are counties and there are areas that want nothing to do with just accepting what the voters have maybe voted for. Maybe they vote yes. And therefore, they're already putting things in place to cut things back. And there seems to be a little bit of that fear mongering. So my question for you, Tiffany, you suggested every county department show what a 25% budget cut really looks like. Not 10% as mentioned by Stephanie. If voters were to approve that property tax relief, should homeowners expect the savings to be offset by new county fees? And I asked that of you. And I also ask, what do you think of these counties that are being proactive and saying, we're going to raise your fees if you vote yes on Amendment 3?
So first, Greg, let's talk about those counties and cities that are communicating to their voters. I think it is actually being good stewards to say, hey, if this should pass, this is what's going to impact your government services. Locally here, I think the great thing that's very important is when I speak about cutting at 25%, it's going through the exercise to force our departments to look for opportunities for efficiencies. For example, when I was facing my first year as the clerk, I had to cut my budget 3 times in 1 year. And I directed my staff to look for ways to create efficiency, but not lay anyone off or don't furlough hours. And we stopped printing paper. Right now, the county has a TDT task force and their book is paper. We're still printing paper. So we have to look for ways to create efficiencies, cut ways to look for looking for process improvements, use technology to create those opportunities to deploy greater services to our citizens. That's what we should be looking at first before we consider any type of tax increase. But Greg, I think it's also important for those who've been following the county commission. The county over the summer was doing community meetings talking about the stormwater challenges here in the county. So I think it's also disingenuous to tell the voters they may or may not be facing a fee because there are going to be several infrastructure challenges the county will be facing in the future.
Would you raise taxes if you're mayor to take care of some of these things if Amendment 3 passes?
I would if we're faced with that situation, yes.
All right, thank you.
Myra, you were the only commissioner to vote against the 2024 fire and EMS property tax increase that was intended to fund 163 firefighters and 4 new fire stations. Now the county could face, as we know, that massive loss of property tax revenue. You've said there is plenty of room to chop, to cut away. Where exactly would you cut? And can you promise voters those property tax cuts would not reduce fire? If you call law enforcement and you call 911 and you need help ASAP, those services and other essential services wouldn't be impacted.
This is such a great question because this is exactly what a mayor leads. The mayor sets the tone of the budget for Orange County. The $9 billion budget tells every department, all 8, across what you're capable of doing, how much you're able to raise. When it came to the firefighter MSTU, the reality is that the county was using it as a ploy to get the firefighters. They were going to give them their raises, but it took 2 years to get that passed. It was not based on the MSTU. They used it as a ploy to get this to happen. First thing we have to do is we have fiscal departments, 8 agencies across Orange County. That has to stop. That means there's money being asserted in every division. As mayor, you set the agenda. We are going to combine all of our fiscal divisions into one fiscal division, and we are going to cut from the top. Next, we're going to start with zero-based budgets. You do not get to carry your millions of dollars over from the previous year. If we're all cutting, if businesses and families are doing less, are doing more with less, so must your county government, and that starts right here. We are very heavy staffed. From when I started as a county commissioner to where we are now, we have hired so many people. We're going to have to be efficient. There's going to have to be some cuts, but the reality is we have to streamline a process that is taking too long right now because individuals are involved in it. There's a lot of, I do not believe there's $400 billion that we're going to lose. I believe more, it's around $160 million in 2 years. But we have a lot of work to do, and there's a lot of room in that budget to do that when you look at how much comes from ad valorem.
So you think there's room to trim the fat?
I don't think it's true, because when you look at ad valorem, it doesn't even equal $1 billion of our $9 billion budget. So if it's not even that much out of a $9 billion budget, the numbers don't make sense, that it would be $400 million when 26% of our population is homesteaded.
All right, let's go to Chris Messina now. We heard he was the only one, saw that he was the only one voting yes on that property tax amendment. He, again, tells us that he is a conservative with conservative values. Mr. Messina, you're urging voters to approve the property tax cut, and you said that that would be able to eliminate $200 million a year in unnecessary or inefficient county spending if you're voted in as mayor. Orange County's own projections show hundreds of millions in lost revenue, as the other candidates have mentioned. So name the biggest things that you would cut to get to that $200 million elimination that currently is being spent by Orange County, and why should voters believe your numbers rather than the county's numbers?
Well, the first thing we have to look at is how much this budget has grown over the past 4 years. It's been mentioned that it's almost doubled in 4 years. The next fiscal year, there's a proposed 7.4% increase in the budget from 8.3 to 8.9 billion. So I want to know where's the issue? Like, we're just growing out of control. If we're all talking about efficiency, then why aren't you willing to give some money back to the hardworking taxpayers who are paying for it? I think the taxpayers deserve that. The Florida CFO has found that they looked at the growth in the county population, inflation, versus the growth in the budget, and found that there was a tremendous divergence, and that it was about $787 million over 3 years. So there's fat there, and we need to get rid of it and give some money back to the taxpayer. And what we'll do is we'll eliminate programs that don't work and aren't meeting their objective. And on it's going to affect first responders. That's fear-mongering, because the language of the ballot initiative specifically says we are going to protect first responders. So I think we can do it, and it will be much better for you, the average citizen out there, once this passes.
I'm going to give our first opportunity to respond to you, to Myra, because she shook her head on that last thing that you said. Sure. And I think that was a reference to your answer to Martha's question. What do you have to say?
Absolutely, because actually the Sheriff's Office just joined today voting and asking people to vote no on this, because it directly affects the MSTU of fire and police, which the police department is actually subsidized by the general fund of Orange County. They do not even collect enough to run their county. We could not give Sheriff Mina enough funding that he requested to hire 25 more deputies in Orange County. And it's very specific. The reason why the governor's not even very behind this is because it only protected the schools. It did not protect fire and police. And I'm glad that the judge today found the wording very politically posted so that people can get behind this. But when you think of the own sheriff in this county is voting no and supporting a no on this effort, it's because he knows it's going to be a direct impact on his department.
We're going to go to a break in a second. I want to ask one quick follow-up, just a short answer from you. You've identified links funding as one place you might trim. What do you tell bus riders?
Well, first of all, let's look at, so I've proposed with the links that we technology enable it and use that to pull money out of
But are you
links.
going to cut it?
Yeah, so Seminole County has started this pilot. It's called Scout, and they've already generated $10 million in just a few months in savings. So we can do much more in Orange County.
We heard your answer. You will be looking for areas to cut.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's one place.
All right, thank you, and we're going to continue on.
We are. We're going to take the quick 2-minute break right now. And when we come back, we're going to talk about downtown crime, fixing homelessness, and more of your questions from the Channel 9 viewers. We'll be back right after this.
Including TDT. Welcome back to the Channel 9 Orange County mayoral debates.
We now turn to the issue of the tourist development tax.
What is the TDT? It is in the news virtually every week. Orange County is unique for many reasons. One big one is because of our tourism industry, obviously. The county levies a 6% tourist development tax for visitors, and the numbers are enormous. Penny by penny, it brings in some $359 million in 23-24, and Again, it's going to be up even higher in 25. State law, though, limits what can be done with that money. It has to be used for tourism-related things, and right now Orange County is deciding how to spend that revenue. The Orlando Dreamers tomorrow make their pitch, and before I get into the questions with you, I want all 4 of you candidates to raise your hand if you think spending part of the TDT on a baseball team should it look like we're going to get one. Is that a good use of TDT? Raise your hand if you think it is. There you go. We've got Mr. Chris on that. All right, we go to our questions now. We start with Tiffany Moore Russell on the TDT. And I know that in the past, Tiffany, you have not been a proponent of spending money on the venues, but you have proposed having county departments go through that budget exercise. We talked about that. Would you apply that same type of scrutiny, the way that you look at dollars no matter how big in the same microscope? Would you give that same scrutiny to more than $100 million a year, for example, going to Visit Orlando?
Thank you, Greg, and that's a very great question because you actually brought me back memories when I was on the county commission with the venues discussion. And you're correct. I was holding many people accountable about where we're going to spend those TDT dollars, and I've been very consistent that there must be a return on that investment. And so to your question, absolutely, I will hold Visit Orlando or anyone who receives public dollars accountable to make sure that they are being very fiscally conservative when it comes to our spending. Can they show data that it's going to have a return on we're growing our TDT and is a great use of our investment? And so during the venues conversation back in the day, yes, I was very clear about, was that the right direction for us to go? Should we make sure the stadium should go to iDrive, or do we want to make sure we do them all at one time? Because we were being predicted that we were going to be facing a recession coming soon, right? And so I've been very consistent that it's important for us, if we're going to use TDT dollars, that there's a return on that investment, that it makes the data makes sense, that the math is mathing, and it's going to create jobs. Are we going to create opportunities for our minority and small businesses to thrive and grow? It's going to make sure that we can continue to enhance those quality of life for our citizens, and also make sure that we can drive more visitors to help those TDT dollars grow. And so I think when we think about how to move as a community and how we spend those dollars, we should hold anyone accountable to make tough decisions about how they're spending and let us know if they're going to go through their own budget cut exercises to be good stewards of those resources.
I have one follow-up to that. Do you regret, when you look at the success of the Dr. Phillips Center for the Performing Arts and what has happened with the Orlando Magic, where they play their basketball games, how beautiful that is?
I absolutely do not regret my decision. I'll tell you why, Greg. Yes, we had a great Magic team even before they got a new stadium, and I'm very proud of the Performing Arts Center. But there was data that showed us that we needed a new stadium on our drive. We can potentially recruit the World Cup, or we can potentially get larger conventions, and guess what? We didn't get an opportunity to get the World Cup. So I don't regret my decision at all.
All right, thank you.
Myra, the county comptroller's audit found problems involving how some TDT expenditures were classified. Specifically, Visit Orlando receives more than $100 million annually in TD funding. You've argued that taxpayers were owed money back and said some of it could instead have supported local arts. Here's my question. You've been one of the loudest voices demanding accountability from Visit Orlando after audits raised questions about how tourist tax dollars were classified. My question is, how much is too much to spend marketing a destination that already attracts tens of millions of visitors each and every year, and how much would you take away from Visit Orlando?
Martha, you said that in such a nice way. I have been the loudest. And you know, I was the one that fought for that audit, and I'm so glad my board followed me, because guess what? We found out they were not using their money correctly. What was very disappointing is that my board allowed them to get away with it and actually loosened the rules on the contract that didn't even require them to have to go to stricter rules. Point simple, it's too much money. $120 million to a private outsourced company is too much money. When you look at it, that $120 million, you have 21,000 cars rented every day in Orange County. You have 250,000 people in our town beyond the ones that live here. They don't contribute to transportation. They don't contribute to public safety. They don't contribute to our water resources. We actually could take some of that money and work on our transportation. We need to get a train to go to the airport. We need to get a train to come down the Sunshine Corridor. We need to help people afford to live in their homes. A third of our population works in tourism. Why don't we help the people who are the backbones of this industry have an ability to live with a quality of life? When I become mayor, it is the one thing. I'm going to go to Tallahassee. I'm going to go to Washington. We're going to fight. We need some of that funding here. If we actually took $45 million of those TDT funds, bonded it and leveraged it, we could build 2,000 apartments a year.
I have a follow-up.
Yes.
You touched on it real fast. You were on the county commission while the Visit Orlando, while the system operated. If the oversight wasn't adequate that you alluded to, do you share some responsibility?
I voted against it. I voted against it, and I was proud. One other commissioner and I voted, and sadly, my 5 colleagues supported it. That's the problem. And I voted against it actually 3 times. You can't let people get away with mishandling public dollars and not hold them accountable. Accountability is the expectation of what the public expects out of your elected officials. If we can't do that with your taxpayer dollars, we definitely need to relook at how we're handling those. And we need to make them accountable. We got to continue to make them accountable, but we've got to go challenge and fight for those dollars for our community.
Chris Messina, again, anti-tax business person is basically where you come from. That's the vantage point you have. And you've built your campaign around families over taxes. You argue that county government needs to become more efficient.
Yeah.
In terms of cutting that spending, government should be smaller, so why should taxpayers subsidize marketing for TDT? I know that if my research is correct, Visit Orlando's contract comes due again under your watch if you're elected mayor. Why should we continue to spend $100 million, $120 million to promote Orlando?
So first of all, I'm not going to prejudge the Visit Orlando contract until we see the details and I see how they execute against their metrics. What I will say, though, is that tourism has put Orange County on the map. Without tourism, Orange County would not exist as it is. Probably 2/3 of the folks in this room, you, me, and lots of others, would not be here without the tourist industry. We have to protect this industry, and we have to think actually even bigger about how can we expand it. So I would like to see the industry expand into addressing space tourism. I recently went to the Artemis II launch out at Cape Canaveral, and there were 150,000 people lining the roads, most of whom flew in here to watch this launch. We have a tremendous opportunity. At some point, we'll be sending people into space for tourism. So I think we need to think creatively about how we use the tourist development tax. I raised my hand when you mentioned the Dreamers, the Orlando baseball team. I'll share with everybody what I told the management of the Dreamers. I said, I will support you if you can find a way for the residents and the citizens of Orange County to have a financial stake in the success of the ball club. And that's my criteria, because I want to see every resident here have a success in the growth of the tourist industry. And I think the baseball team is a tremendous opportunity if it's executed properly.
Thank you, Chris.
Stephanie, you want to maximize opportunities under state law to use TDD revenues for projects that improve residents' quality of life. We're talking about roads and we're talking about infrastructure. My question for you, Stephanie, is you want to maximize every opportunity under state law to use tourist tax dollars to improve residents' quality of life. It sounds great, makes for a great soundbite. What does that actually mean? And would you take money currently going to tourism marketing or major tourism projects and redirect it? And if you do specifically, what would it be for?
Well, I believe that residents should feel the benefit of living in a community where our large economic cornerstone is tourism. They should feel the benefit of the tourism dollars, because the top 10 property taxpayers are in the tourism industry. That goes into our general fund. It's flexible. But as it relates specifically to the TDT, nowhere in the statute does it say that the 40% that's required to be spent on marketing must fully be spent with Visit Orlando. Of course, I believe that the dollars that are going to be spent with Visit Orlando require accountability, as all taxpayer spending is. But we could also spread around some of those tourism marketing dollars to arts and recreational and cultural facilities in our community, in every corner of our county, so that they can bring people who don't live in Orange County, which is the statute's language, people who live outside of Orange County here, so that they are supporting our small businesses and that they are contributing to the culture that we have in this community. And if we do that, we unlock another 60% of that TDT to do creative things like transportation or workforce housing, or additional resources into the arts and recreation and culture that's related to tourism. So we have a win-win here to expand our economic base and to deliver a better community for our residents.
Quick follow-up. When you were on with me for Central Florida Spotlight, you did not have a definitive no to a professional baseball team. It looks like things are slipping through the hands of the Tampa Rays right now because their community is not embracing potentially spending that kind of money if the property tax amendment goes through. Could you be convinced, Stephanie?
I think that as mayor, I have to deal with the facts and the opportunities that are at hand. And sometimes these opportunities are behind the ones that are ready and shovel ready and ready to go. And so a big part of being mayor is making priorities. So I'm not necessarily a yes or a no. I am somebody who deals with the facts at hand. And what I think I said to you in that interview is that should MLB express interest in Orange County, I would love to see an MLB team here. What it would mean for the mayor is that she would have to roll up her sleeves and work with the private sector entities that are very enthusiastic about this, and work with MLB to figure out how this redounds to the greatest benefit of residents in this community.
TDT, we could talk about it for the full hour, but we'll move on. Thank you all for your responses and answering the follow-ups as well.
We also received a lot of emails from our viewers regarding crime. Orange County has roughly 1.5 billion residents, but unlike almost any other sheriff's office, we also welcome more than 75 million visitors each and every year. Sheriff John Mina says violent crime is down 23%, homicides down 36%, and overall, crime is down by about 19%. But still, public safety is a major concern for voters. The sheriff is now asking for additional funding. Stephanie, I want to start with you regarding crime. Sheriff Mina now wants, again, an 11% increase. You haven't managed the sheriff's budget. What qualifies you? What would you tell those watching tonight and voters? What qualifies you to determine whether $470 million is actually necessary, and would you approve the sheriff's budget?
Well, I've spent a good part of my career working in national security. In fact, I still am working in national security, carry a top secret clearance to work on boards to ensure the safety and security of this country. So public safety for me is a first and foremost priority. But I've also worked in large bureaucracies, in complex business organizations where I've had to make budget decisions. When I was at the Department of Defense, I helped set the priorities for an $800 billion budget whose primary purpose was to keep this country safe. So I think I have the experience to do this, but I also want to understand the context and the texture of the law enforcement that is out there every day keeping our community safe. We have an obligation not only to make our community safe, but to make the people who live here feel safe. And so I did a ride along, and what I see is that our law enforcement are struggling to deal with violent crimes versus public safety, things like traffic enforcement. And if they need more resources, that is the one area of public good that the county delivers that nobody else does. And so, of course, we have to make that our #1 priority and make those investments to ensure that residents in this community not only are safe, but they feel safe.
We've seen the videos, a quick follow-up. We've done stories this week on the teen takeovers, the traffic issues downtown of kids on the e-bikes, e-scooters. Yes, parents need to get involved in this one, but people from the emails we've gotten, they're afraid to go downtown. Yeah. I have an older daughter. I said, I prefer that you didn't go downtown and you go somewhere else. Do you think that the county needs to work hand in hand with OPD so that people feel safe again going downtown?
I absolutely think that a world-class community needs to have a vibrant downtown. And so that means that the county has to work with the Sheriff's Department, with Orlando Police Department, with the city. But currently, the way that the county thinks about the municipalities that are inside the county, when they look out for the purpose of tax collection, they see a whole piece of cheese. They take everything. But when they look out for spending, whether it's on public safety or transportation, they see Swiss cheese. The holes are where the municipalities are. And there's no relationship that works when what's yours is mine and what's mine is mine. There has to be greater collaboration. That's how we maximize the dollars that the municipalities have, as well as what Orange County has.
Thank you, Stephanie. We move now to Tiffany Moore Russell. Your background is well documented about just the great things that you've been able to do in terms of your law degree, youngest commission member, but you've had a front row seat. A lot of this spills over into areas that you're very familiar with, that you care and are passionate about, not that all the candidates do not. So what isn't working with our public safety? Because Martha, I think, understated the problem downtown. I went to a Magic game 2 weeks, not a Magic game, I went to a concert 2 weeks ago and there was a soccer game. Not one person kept walking to Church Street. Everyone exited to their cars. That used to not be the way. What has been broken? Why is Orlando no longer a destination? That is a shame.
Well, and Greg, thank you for recognizing the fact that my career has given me the opportunity to serve, for example, on the Orange County Public Safety Coordinating Council. And on that council, you have both the Orange County Sheriff, the OPD Police Chief, you have the jail director, you have the mayor of Orange County, our chief judge, our public defender, and our state attorney, as well as the clerk, where we're looking at what is safety happening across our county, what are there solutions to address those issues. And so I do believe that we have good collaboration today. We also have our sheriff and all of our police chiefs meet on a regular basis looking for solutions to provide services to this community. So I want to say I think it's important for us to continue to bolster that collaboration, to work together on more community policing initiatives. How do we address what's happening to our youth? You mentioned the teen takeover. I have a 15-year-old, right? He's going to the 10th grade, and one of the things I've noticed is Orange County has been very successful at funding middle school programs. But when children are aged out of middle school, that 9th and 10th graders, they have nothing to do because they're not able yet to get a job. And so I'm looking for ways to enhance those youth programs, working with our law enforcement to address some of those issues. And back to your point about Orlando, it's important as the mayor of Orange County to work with the city of Orlando and the city mayor to come up with a robust plan to make Orange County revive downtown Orlando. Because as you stated, as Orlando downtown thrives, so does the destination, so does Orange County, and so does the region. Most people look to want to have a thriving downtown in their city. And so I think it's important the mayor of Orange County works with Orlando to come up with solutions to revive Church Street downtown and bring back those interests and want to serve there.
Thank you.
And we know that, Myra, a lot of these business people downtown have to pay for their own security.
Yeah.
They've got to pay to keep safety at their business where they're trying to make a living. What do you tell those folks that you would do as the mayor so that they don't have to take money out of their pocket, they can feel safe, and people want to go downtown again and have fun like the good old days?
Yeah, I remember those good old days, being born and raised here, but we won't get into that. But you're absolutely right. And the biggest thing, Martha, is that people don't drive down a road and say, I'm in the city of Belle Isle, I'm in Orlando, I'm in Orange County. We should be seamless. And that's going to take a mayor who's going to open up his arms and his hands and say, you city mayors and you city managers and sheriff's office and city polices, how do we work together? We have to treat them with the respect that they are. They represent constituents. Many people ask us, do I get to vote for a county mayor? I live in the city of Orlando. Yes, because everyone lives in the city of Orange, in the county of Orange County. We've got to work together. Sheriff Mina is all about working together. We, as a government, need to support that effort. And also, when it comes to cities, we need to give them their fair share of dollars, that their right-of-ways, that we take the funding, yet we don't maintain. We go together, and when you look at arts and programs, it has to go that way. But I remember a downtown where you'd have arts and small restaurants and a cafe. And yes, when I was in high school, it was a cool road to drive through on a Friday night. And we need that back. Just like every other major town has those cultural and music, and they close down streets so families can be safe. But I think the basic thing that every resident out there, they want to feel safe in their community. They want, as a mother, when my daughter goes out and when your children go out, we want them to be safe, feel safe, and come home safely. And that we need to work as a unity.
Thank you, Myra. You know, for those who have been around a while, downtown Orlando, Church Street was the 3rd largest tourist attraction. I know Mayor Dyer said it was the 4th, but it was there before Universal. And that is not the case anymore. It was a must-see. So to you, Chris, if I could.
Sure.
Your campaign says Orange County should invest in public safety while also making government more efficient, reducing bureaucracy and avoiding higher taxes. The sheriff's budget, which we've talked about, request is putting those promises directly against one another. Would you agree that can you do both? Can you expand a sheriff's department and then reduce bureaucracy at the same time? How would you do it?
Sure. You eliminate programs that aren't meeting their objectives, and you invest in programs that do. And one of the things we need to do downtown is we need a makeover of Church Street. We need a conscious vision for what it could be. And my vision is that Church Street would be an esports and entertainment, sports and entertainment complex that would be the center of our downtowns, because we don't have a great county without a great Orlando, and we don't have a great Orlando without a great downtown. And so we need to think big about how could we make this downtown more vibrant, and also give the folks who live in that area an ownership stake in the success of it. And so I know there's some developers, and I've actually covered this on my social media, who have some great ideas for revitalizing this area. So we need to do that. Second thing we need to do is we need to give our youth opportunities and hope for the future, so they're not riding around, running over each other on e-bikes and doing icon takeovers. And that's where my Orange County Works program for trades education, so they have hope for a really good job out of school, comes in.
Not too far off from what Tiffany is mentioning, something for those children that are teens that don't really
Sports
have
too.
What they need. Yeah, I know you're a coach in the background. That's been something that you've loved to do.
Yeah.
We now are having a lightning round. We were going to talk about this next topic a little bit longer, but for the sake of time, we're going to keep each of your responses to 30 seconds, and we're going to talk about homelessness. Millions of dollars have been spent, tens of millions, addressing homelessness and mental health. This question for Tiffany Moore-Russell. If residents still say they don't feel safe and they're seeing homelessness in their neighborhood, what specifically has county government gotten wrong? 30 seconds, please.
Well, I think we have to recognize and acknowledge that homelessness is a very difficult topic to tackle. It's extremely difficult. We know we have such a broad spectrum of those in the homeless community, from those who are chronically homeless to those who need temporary housing or those who are looking for permanent solutions. And I believe we have so many different providers out there working in silos, and we have to do a better job of collaborating together, everyone working in the business, with the Homeless Service Network and all providers coming together, coming up with a strategic plan to address how we're going to reduce the homelessness in this community. And I think that is the best way for the county to move forward to providing those services. How do we reduce those who are chronically homeless? How do we make sure we can have more temporary shelters that not only provide services to those who are men or women and families, as well as problems and solutions to go towards more permanent housing for a sustainable future for our families.
Okay. Tiffany, thank you. Myra, real fast here, because we want to make sure you each have an opportunity for your closing statements. When residents objected to the facility on Cayley Street, you said they were frustrated because they didn't know what was coming to their neighborhood. What do you tell voters right now that you say we need to have a facility for these folks for success? What do you tell them if they say not my backyard?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a problem that's happening everywhere. No area of Orange County is no longer touched by this, and we're doing the first thing we've ever done in Orange County is we're building a 90-day return to permanent housing facility on Goldenrod and Colonial. It's called Goldenrod Village. We're actually going to offer wraparound services and help someone when they come in, whether it's underemployed, whether it's finances, whether it's mental health, all of those problems. This is a community problem. This is no longer that area of town kind of problem. We have to work on this together. We need the faith-based community as they were involved 10 years ago. We need them back at the table because it's going to take all of us bringing this forward.
Thank you. And your turn now, if you
Sure. Well, first of all, we can't spend our way out of homelessness. If we could, then LA would have no homeless people on the street. And so what we have to do is we have to prioritize programs that are actually moving people who are homeless, particularly the chronically homeless people, towards self-sufficiency. And there are some good programs out there, and those are the programs we should invest in. And then we should not invest in other programs that aren't meeting that endpoint. We do need more affordable housing for people who are in transitional homeless situations, and that would be one area where I think we should invest.
Chris,
Thanks,
thank
Chris.
you. Stephanie, what would you do as the mayor that the current administration isn't doing regarding homelessness?
Homelessness doesn't have one cause. It's a complicated issue. And what I think is happening is that this county is spending money, but the point in time counts are about the same or worse, depending on which ones you look at. We still have 2,700 people who are homeless. We have to approach this issue with both compassion and accountability, which means that we can't just spread this money like thin peanut butter across a piece of toast and hope that there'll be outcomes and moving people off of the streets into stable housing. We have to take a holistic look and make sure that the dollars that we are applying are going into the transition housing, into wraparound services, and the things that actually have results.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. All right, it's now time for your final word to the people who are watching tonight. Tiffany Moore Russell, you are first.
45 seconds, please.
All right. Well, thank you again to Orlando Economic Partnership and Channel 9, and thank you, you all, for joining us tonight for this very important conversation. You've heard all of us, we've all acknowledged that we have a housing shortage issue, we have a transportation issue, we know we need more jobs and economic prosperity. But what I bring to you tonight is a candidate who brings both legislative experience and executive experience, who has proven results, someone who has raised wages, someone who has changed the culture of an organization, used technology to be innovative. And I am that candidate for you. I am asking for your vote, whether you've already vote by mail, you're an early voter, or you're going to vote on election day. I'm asking the voters of Orange County to trust me to be your Orange County mayor. You trusted me to be your clerk, and I'm asking for your vote to be your Orange County mayor.
Right.
Tiffany Moore Russell.
Thank you, Tiffany. Chris Messina.
Friends, you've heard from us all. We're at a pivot point deciding the future of Orange County. One is of a county with more government and more taxes. The other, mine, uses the free market and human creativity to solve problems. Under my leadership, our future Orange County is an innovation powerhouse, the national leader in space tech and home of the Space Force Academy. We'll have more good jobs here, including in skilled trades. Our blighted strip malls will be vibrant centers, combining housing, retail, and commercial. We'll have improved transportation with high-tech buses. Church Street and downtown will be dynamic sports and entertainment destinations. Orange County will be safer, cleaner, healthier, wealthier, and happier. That's why I ask you to vote Messina for mayor now through August 18th. Vote for a new vision, not another recycled politician. Thank you, and may God bless you.
Chris Messina, thank you so much. Myra Uribe, you're next.
Thank you for sharing your evening with us. My name is Myra, and I want to be your next mayor. I love this community, and I'm so honored to be in this position today. We've done so much together, yet there's so much to do. I am ready on day one. I have my org chart ready, my leadership team ready, and I have my 100-day plan ready to go. I have the pleasure of having the endorsement of the Orange County deputies, Orange County firefighters, and Orange County Corrections, our first responders. It's going to take a lot of work, but I believe in us, I believe in this community, and I know our best days are in front of us. Please visit me at Myra for Mayor, contact me directly. Join this movement. Together, we can make a difference in Orange County. Please vote Myra for Mayor on or before August 18th. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final closing statement with you, Stephanie Murphy.
Tonight, you have heard a lot of different ideas about the challenges that Orange County is facing. But I think the real question is, who is ready to lead this community into the future? I believe leadership is about bringing people together, solving difficult problems, and delivering results. Throughout my career in business, at the Department of Defense, and in Congress, that is what I've done. As a mom raising my family here, I want what you want. I want housing that working families can afford. I want less congestion so we have more time for work with our families. And I want our children to have opportunities. Orange County has every advantage to get there. With experience, leadership, and a clear vision, I know we can do it together. I'm Stephanie Murphy. I'd be honored to have your vote. Remember, Murphy for mayor, the Asian woman with the Irish name.
All right. Well, hopefully you all enjoyed yourself in our studios. Thank you all for agreeing to be here. We really appreciate the candidates and them giving of their time to all of us here. It's been a fun night. It went really quickly, though.
And before we go here, some important key dates you need to know. The deadline to get a mail-in ballot is Thursday. Early voting runs through Sunday, August 16th. And the election itself is 2 weeks from today. No candidate gets 50% of the vote. There will be a runoff on Election Day in November. Of course, keep it here to Channel 9 for all the election coverage. Thanks so much for being with us tonight.